thing about generalizing about Africa is that many tend to believe Africa is homogeneous, and it isn't. You go to Ghana, there is a work ethic even about application, how diligently you work. You go to Nigeria, there are certain stereotypes, some of which are founded, others of which are not terribly founded. I have worked with Nigerians, and where ethics is concerned, where governance is concerned, a good number of the corporations that I've worked with would, in fact, even in terms of the King Code, would be found very, very wanting. You talk of conflict of interest to very, very sophisticated Nigerian business persons. They wonder what it is, in fact, you are talking about. Conflict of interest. I am about pragmatism. Does this work for me or does it not? They tend to be more utilitarian, more focused on value acquisition. And here I'm generalizing, essentially because the majority of those that I've dealt with, and even those that I've been with at school, in a context of South Africa, they would actually be found wanting. You go even across the Limpopo to Zimbabwe. We do have a leader who is very, very effective. But we have to distinguish between effectiveness and ethical behavior. Bob Mugabe is as effective leadership comes. That's why he's where he is. Hitler was very, very effective in actually marshalling forces that actually almost decimated millions of people. Effective he was, but was he ethical? Ethics insists that over and above being effective, you also have to be able to distinguish between good and bad. You also have to be able to distinguish between right and wrong, and you must also do that which is beneficial for the greater good. What made Nelson Mandela appeal across all populations in South Africa, what made him appeal nationally, what made him iconic, was serving the greater good. What makes the others, some of whom followed him, less so, is exactly that difference, where instead of actually serving the national interest, serving even the continental interest, or serving the national interest, they tend to be self.
In the view of many who are here, you've served in many institutions where individuals hold positions of leadership, but they are not leaders. They can't lead, they can't offer leadership, but they continue to burden the institution that they serve with what they describe as leadership. And in many African countries, in many institutions in Africa, we have observed instances where individuals occupy positions and they lead their organizations to doom. So when we talk about leadership, what is it? Many companies will tell you that we have gone through these storms, and the only thing that ensures that you go through these storms is that if you have a body that is properly organized. And I'm quite certain that the whole idea of corporate governance is to ensure that there is shared responsibility, that there are people that you can go into a boardroom and bring to bear all those thoughts.
If there ever was the time to embrace ethical leadership and stop spinning, stop manipulating, stop relying on our supporters or sympathizers to do wrong, knowing that our wrongdoing would be covered up in some way, that time is now. Ethical leadership leaves no room for corruption. Ethical leadership leaves no room for the manipulation of politicians by the corporate world, allowing funding of political campaigns to influence how you govern your people, allowing funding of political campaigns by the business community to dictate whether you are going to shirk your key responsibilities or give practical expression to the constitutional aspirations of your people is the corruption that comes into being that is facilitated by the absence of ethical leadership. And that explains why ethical leadership really isn't an option, but a national imperative. Because when you are a leader, you have it within yourself, you have the authority to influence those that you lead. And it is what you do that largely determines what those who follow you are likely to do.